The ballroom of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel radiated elegance, crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow, their reflections dancing across opulent, gold-trimmed walls. The air carried a rich blend of aged whiskey, designer perfume, and the unspoken tension that always lingered when Hollywood's most powerful figures gathered under one roof. Guests in meticulously tailored suits and dazzling gowns navigated the room with calculated grace, engaging in murmured conversations filled with industry gossip, forced laughter, and veiled compliments. For some, the night was about the cause, supporting mental health initiatives for veterans. But for many, it was merely another carefully curated appearance, a chance to network, to be seen, and to solidify their standing in Hollywood's social hierarchy. Then Clint Eastwood entered. No fanfare, no entourage, just a man in a perfectly fitted black suit, hands resting casually in his pockets. At 94, he moved with a slower stride than in his younger years, but there was something in his posture, in the sharp way his eyes scanned the room, that commanded respect. Conversations faltered mid-sentence. Glances were exchanged. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Eastwood was not the kind of celebrity people fawned over. He was someone you acknowledged, someone you respected. He made his way to the bar, greeting a few longtime friends with a firm handshake. He wasn't one for idle chatter, but he had a rare ability to make people feel like their words mattered, an unusual trait in this industry. Across the ballroom, a young journalist named Brandon Keller watched intently. He wasn't a household name, but in the world of political commentary, he was carving out a reputation as a bold, unfiltered voice of the new generation. His articles, often scathing critiques of traditional conservatism, had earned him a strong social media following. And tonight, he saw an opportunity. To him, Clint Eastwood was a relic, a symbol of an outdated era that no longer fit Hollywood's progressive narrative. Keller wasn't looking for a conversation. He was looking for a moment, a headline, a takedown. With his phone discreetly set to record, he adjusted his tie and approached the bar, exuding confidence. Too much confidence. The atmosphere at the bar shifted subtly as he neared. A few guests instinctively stepped back, sensing the impending confrontation. Eastwood, in the midst of listening to a veteran's story, barely acknowledged the young journalist's presence. That only fueled Keller's determination. Clearing his throat, he flashed a tight-lipped smile. "Mr. Eastwood," he announced, his voice deliberately loud, ensuring nearby guests would hear. "Brandon Keller, the Sentinel Review. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" Eastwood glanced at him, brief, unreadable, then turned back to his conversation. Keller took a step closer. "I promise I'll be quick," he added, chuckling slightly. "I just wanted your thoughts on Hollywood's shifting landscape. You've been in the industry for over 6 decades. Do you think people like you still have a place in it?" The jab was deliberate. "People like you." The phrase lingered in the air, thick with implication. Nearby guests quieted. Someone set their drink down a little too forcefully. Even the bartender hesitated mid-pour. At last, Eastwood turned to face him fully. His gaze was steady, not angry, not offended, just assessing. Keller pressed forward. "Because, Hollywood is evolving. The old ways of thinking, outdated masculinity, conservative values." He gestured vaguely. "A lot of people believe it's time to move forward. That guys like you, well, they're out of touch with what modern audiences want." There it was, his moment, the perfect setup, the confrontation that would go viral. Clint Eastwood finally called out, watch him stumble over his own ignorance. Except that wasn't what happened. For a moment, Eastwood simply looked at him. Then with a quiet sigh, one not of exhaustion, but of sheer indifference, he reached for his drink, took a slow sip, and set it down. Only then did he speak. "You rehearsed that one, didn't you?" A ripple of laughter spread through the small crowd, subtle but unmistakable. Keller's jaw tensed. "I'm just asking the questions people want answers to," he countered quickly. Eastwood tilted his head. "People," he echoed, as if testing the word. "Or just you?" That wasn't in Keller's script. He hesitated for half a beat. The veteran actor leaned in slightly, resting an elbow on the bar. You think the world just moves forward because some guy with a keyboard says so? That real change happens because someone like you points a finger and says, "That's old. Throw it out." Keller opened his mouth, but Eastwood didn't give him the chance. "Let me tell you something, kid," he said, his voice calm, steady, the same voice that had delivered iconic lines in 100 films. "You don't erase the past just because you don't like it. You learn from it, build on it, take what worked, fix what didn't, and move forward. That's progress, not whatever the hell this is." He mimicked Keller's earlier dismissive hand wave. Laughter erupted, this time louder. Someone clapped. Keller's face flushed, but he refused to back down. "With all due respect, Mr. Eastwood," he shot back, voice tight, "it's easy for you to talk about learning from the past when your generation had it easier." A murmur spread, not in Keller's favor. Eastwood chuckled, shaking his head. "Easier," he repeated like the word was absurd. "I got my start when studios told actors to change their names because they sounded too rough. Before that, I was a bricklayer. You ever shovel asphalt in the middle of summer just to afford a meal?" Keller blinked. He had not been expecting that. "And I've seen guys like you before," Eastwood continued, taking another sip, "looking for a soundbite, hoping to make a scene. But here's the thing. You walked in here thinking I'd fold, that I'd get mad, stumble over my words, maybe even storm off." He shrugged. "I don't do performances on command. That's your job." Laughter again. This time nearly half the room joined in. A few even applauded. Keller swallowed hard. He had walked into this battle expecting to control the narrative, but it was slipping through his fingers. He scrambled for an escape. "I just think people deserve better," he blurted. "Better stories, better representation, better—" Eastwood cut him off with a slow nod. "So tell him one." Keller hesitated. "You keep talking about what people don't want," Eastwood said. "So tell them what they do want, right now. Say something that'll matter more than the movies I've made, the history I've been a part of." The words landed like a gut punch. Keller had nothing. His hands curled slightly at his sides, his breath uneven. His entire career had been built on tearing others down. But now in front of Clint Eastwood, he was being asked to build something, and he couldn't do it. Silence stretched. Then, another wave of laughter, this one final. Keller's face burned. Without another word, he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Just another name in a long list of people who had underestimated the old cowboy. And Eastwood? He simply turned back to the veteran he had been speaking with. "Now," he said, like nothing had happened, "you were saying something about Fallujah?"